Welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos where I share with you just how I grow orchids in Jamaica. Today I want to highlight something different because right now Jamaica is under a dengue fever alert. We are actually experiencing an outbreak, and so because we are experiencing this outbreak, I just want to share with you some of the things that we can do to protect ourselves. And also, one of the things I want to highlight is for us to realize that there's no one particular category of persons who can get dengue. So whether you are a farmer, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a gardener, it doesn't matter what you do, you can be impacted by this dreaded disease. And so I want to make that connection because there are some persons who are at a higher risk of coming down with dengue fever. Some of these persons are persons who tend to love to work outdoor. And of course, our gardeners like myself are one such category of persons who loves to be outdoor. And of course, as you know, dengue fever is transmitted by the bite of an infected Aedes aegypti mosquito. And this mosquito is a domesticated mosquito. So the mosquito is always around us. So anywhere we are, they tend to like to be around us. So they are in our homes, they are in our gardens. Oh, there goes. That was an Aedes aegypti mosquito biting me right there. They are sometimes even in our cars, and that tend to put us at risk. And so as a gardener, and as a public health specialist, I just thought it is fitting at this time that I share with you some of the do's and don'ts and some of the things that we can and should do to protect ourselves from getting this dengue fever that is circulating right now in Jamaica. And so if you want to see that, come along with me. So as I did say earlier, dengue fever is a viral infection and it is spread by the bite of an infected mosquito. So therefore, if the mosquito is not infected, then chances are, even if that mosquito bites you, you may not necessarily get dengue fever because the mosquito is not infected. There are persons who believe that one little mosquito cannot cause these kind of illness. But I'm here to lay that to rest because this little mosquito, what it does, the female mosquito will perch on us to get a blood meal. And this blood meal is what helps that mosquito to produce the eggs that they lay. And so the mosquito will not or cannot lay those eggs without actually getting that blood meal. So while the mosquito is getting the blood meal, the mosquito is also picking up things from our blood and is also putting things into us. And that is how, during that transmission of getting that blood, that is how that mosquito will pass on the illness to another person.
Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you.
So dengue fever cannot be passed on directly from person to person. There has to be the vector, a host, and of course the agent or the germ. So the host would be the person who has the illness, and the vector is what is going to carry that germ to another person, and that's how the mosquito come into play. So the Aedes aegypti mosquito will transmit not just dengue, but it can transmit yellow fever, it can transmit Zika, it can also transmit chikungunya, which we had Zika and chikungunya outbreak in Jamaica a couple years ago, but thank God we are not seeing that now. So for dengue, The persons who are at risk, as I did say earlier, are the persons who like to be outside, or the persons who do not pay keen attention to some of the things that are happening around the home. But sometimes, no matter how we try to pay attention to what is happening around our home, there are times when these mosquitoes, because once they have a little hoops of water somewhere, they use that as an opportunity to lay their eggs. So for a gardener like yourself and myself here, we like to have whole heap of plants, and some of these plants, like this one right here, this is a bromeliad. It holds a lot of water inside of the crown and right around it. And because of that, it is an opportunity for the mosquito to lay her eggs. And of course, once the eggs are laid and water is into these little crevices in these plants, then of course it will develop into what we call the larva, because there are several stages of the mosquito. So first you will have the eggs, which are laid on the edge of containers that has water, and some plants like bromeliads, and this develop into the larva. And this larva is what we see wiggling into the water. And then this larva now, after a while, it develops into a pupae. From that pupae, the adult mosquito emerges. And that is why it is so difficult for us to really get rid of these mosquitoes, because we are in a tropical country, and in a tropical country you have a lot of bushes, you have a lot of green areas, you have a lot of water settling. As a matter of fact, it's not just plants, and in our containers you will find these mosquito breeding. Sometimes you'll find them breeding in like even rocks, because you have some areas where you have the honeycomb rocks, and these rocks too, once it can hold water, then the mosquito will breed in there. And what we find too, the mosquito will go and lay her eggs in that little bit of water. And once it stays there a couple of days, then it develops into the larval stage. So what can you do? Is that some persons believe that it is the bushes that breeds the mosquito. It is not the bushes that breeds the mosquito. It's not the grass that breeds the mosquito. What will happen is that the adult mosquitoes will rest in the grass or in the bushes. And that is why when you're cutting your lawn, you tend to see a lot more mosquitoes kind of, circulating, because you are now disturbing where these mosquitoes tend to rest. Mosquitoes have special time where they are more active. So for instance, the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which are the mosquitoes that transmit this dengue, they are more active whether early morning or late afternoon going into evening. So you'll see they are more active anytime after 3 going 4. So if you're in your garden at that time, you'll notice that the mosquitoes are then molesting you, harassing you, trying to bite you, trying to get a blood meal and so forth. And so, because we understand how the mosquitoes operate, there are things that we will put in place to control them, because we can't eliminate them. So what we do, we try to control them. So for gardeners like yourself and myself, one of the things that we should be doing, we should try to keep our garden clean. I know it's very hard. It is extremely hard to keep your garden clean, because especially when you do it yourself. And a lot of us gardeners are getting up in age or are already up in age. And so there are some things that we can't manage, and we have to get help. Some of these persons who we ask to help us, they don't understand. And if you're not out there to guide them, then of course, things will get out of hand. So whatever containers we have around, because as gardeners, water is critical. Water is very important. And so in areas especially where the rainfall is not very high, we tend to store a lot of water. So we store water in drums, we store water in buckets, we store water in bottles, and all kind of things to use in the garden. So what we should do when we're storing water, we should cover these containers. And for some of us who do not have water coming through our pipes from the municipality, we tend to harvest rainwater. And when we harvest these rainwater, it is important that whatever we harvest these water in, that they are covered. So one of the things that we ask persons to do is to use a mesh. And I think this is the best thing since sliced bread, because we store water in 45-gallon drums, and we find that most of the mosquitoes that are breeding really breed in these 45-gallon drums. And these are the same drums that we call barrel, or barrel that comes from abroad. Persons will repurpose them and use them to store water for the garden. Mosquito love to breed in them. So what the mosquito does, she lays her egg around the edges, the periphery of that water, right at the top of the water. And when they lay the egg there, once water gets in there, and of importance, these eggs will stay in that drum for up to a year without water being in there. And the moment the water gets in there, the larva will start to form once water gets in there. So it is important that we understand the cycle and know how to disrupt it. So when you cover this water, because we do not know when it's going to rain, and persons tend not to want to cover their containers, but you can use something that the water can still go through. As a matter of fact, it is even better because it strains the water and it protects the water. So when you do that, the adult mosquito cannot go into that container and lay the eggs. And that is one way of disrupting the cycle of the mosquito. Yes, so if them can't find any water around your home to breathe in, then therefore you will do what you can to eliminate the breeding of these mosquitoes. For other containers like our flower pots, yes, some of them are in saucers, and these saucers do not have holes in them. And therefore, these saucers, you will find that they put a potential mosquito breeding site. So you have to manage those as well. If you're not using them, turn them down. For the containers around your home, turn them down as well, especially in a time when you're having an increase in rainfall. That is important. In terms of the bushes, try to keep the weed away from your garden. It's not the easiest thing, because I can tell you I have challenges with that, because I also work otherwise and I try to maintain a garden. And also there are some aspects of my garden that I prefer to do myself, because when I ask my gardener to do it, what they tend to do is damage my plants, and I don't take kindly to that. And so sometimes I really do not get around to going into the beds and cleaning them as frequently as I should. But it is important that we try to do that to minimize places for these adult mosquitoes to rest. Here is a killer. You see them plants here? These are the bromeliads. The bromeliads tend to hold water right around it, inside the center and all around it.
Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you.
So what can we do? Because I'm not going to tell you to throw away your bromeliad plants. No. Because look at these, they look so beautiful. Look at the color, how it enhances my garden. And so one of the things that I encourage persons to do, and this is what I do as well, once I'm spraying with an insecticide, because of course we spray our plants to get beautiful blooms, beautiful flowers. Because if we don't, there are other insects and other fungal diseases or bacterial diseases that are really going to affect our plants. And because we do not want our flowers to be damaged or to be aborted, we tend to spray our gardens. So as gardeners, what you can do, and this is what I do, when I'm spraying my other plants, I spray a little bit of it into the water that settles into my bromeliad plants. If it's an insecticide, it will kill any larvae that may be in there. And also, if no larvae is there, the mosquitoes don't like when anything is in the water. So if it is bleach or anything, they really don't like it. So therefore, they will not necessarily go and lay their eggs in that water. However, if you tip a little bleach in your water, it will purify the water, but it does not kill the larvae into the water. Because persons will say, but I put bleach in the water. Yes, if you put it in before the mosquito lay the eggs, then perhaps it will deter the mosquito from wanting to go and lay the eggs in there. But after a while, the bleach comes out of the water, it dissipates. And if the bleach dissipates, then the mosquito will lay her eggs in that same water. So bleach on its own will not necessarily get rid of these mosquitoes unless you put a whole heap, and when you put a whole heap, you perhaps will not be able to use that water for anything else. However, as a householder, what you can do, you can put some cooking oil on top of that water, but ensure that the cooking oil covers the entire surface of that water. Because what it does, it forms a film on the top of that water. The larvae has to come up to the top of the water to breathe, to get air. So when that oil is on top of the water, the larvae cannot get any air and it eventually will die. So that's another way that you can eliminate or prevent the mosquitoes from breeding into your stored water. However, you will have to do this depending on the time, because if it's raining and water continuously catch into that container, then eventually it's going to run off and the oil is going to run off. And so you would have to perhaps do it again. So the best thing for me is to cover it, because when you cover it and you leave it. You only take off the cover when you need to use it. Now some persons may say, but I cover my drum and I still see mosquito breeding in there. Yes, that can happen, because if you cover it after the eggs would have been laid into the drum or the container, then once the water gets there, they are going to turn into the larvae. And so what we ask persons to do is to scrub the edge of the container. Wash the container, and when you're washing it, just make sure you wash the inside. Scrub it, because the eggs are laid on the edges of the container. And when you do that, you will destroy the eggs. An important point here though, the Ministry of Health has employed a lot of workers going from home to home and checking for mosquito breeding sites and trying to destroy them. We're having a problem because some persons do not want persons in their home. They don't want anybody coming to look around their compound. That's one. Secondly, they do not want anybody to put anything into their container of water, especially in areas where water are short in supply. But I am using this opportunity to appeal to you, to remind you that what they are doing is trying to protect you and your family and your neighbors. And so it is important that you allow them to come onto your property and help you to identify the breeding sites and help you to identify ways and means by which you can control the breeding of the mosquitoes on your own property. So when they come, please welcome them in. If you are uncomfortable, you can get their IDs and their names, call the Ministry of Health to find out if these are workers in fact in your area, so that they can confirm that. So it is important that you allow them to come on your property. Also, if you do not want them to put anything into your container, they don't have to put anything in there. However, they cannot leave it untreated. So what you can do, you can get some cooking oil and treat it before the workers leave your compound, because they are not supposed to leave your compound unless you get rid of the breeding sites. In the event you decide that you don't want them there, you don't want them to do anything about what is happening, just remember that's illegal, and there is a law in this country that speaks to mosquitoes as being a nuisance in one of the regulations. So it makes it illegal for you to have mosquitoes breeding on your property. And of course, you can be prosecuted for having mosquitoes breeding on your property. But I'm sure nobody wants to prosecute anybody for having mosquitoes breeding on their property. And that is why we are depending on you to help us to reduce the impact of this dengue outbreak at this time. As a gardener, I say we are at risk because we like to be outdoor, and these mosquitoes are usually outside apart from when they come into our homes. There is another aspect where the adulticidal team, which is the fogging team, they go around and fog to kill the mosquitoes. When they are doing that in your area, open up your windows, open up your doors, and make this fog go through your home or go through the house, because when that happens, what it will do, it will kill the adult mosquitoes that are flying around in and outside of your home. And so it is important that we allow them to come in and fog, because they are trying to protect you, protect your loved ones, and the people around you.
I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause.
There are some other things that you could do. When you're going out into the garden, you could use an insect repellent. I like the natural ones, but you can use one that has DEET in it. But this one is a natural one that is actually made from a plant-based ingredient. That's a fever grass. So I just put on a bit on myself to ensure that I protect myself from these mosquitoes. So that's also important. So that's two ways in which you can actually help to protect yourselves from the mosquitoes, so that you reduce your chance of coming down with dengue fever. And of course, if you have children, they love to be outside. So you have to just try and do whatever it is that you can to protect them as well. So today I just thought it fit that I incorporate this aspect of my job into my passion, gardening, and highlight and show you some of what can happen and why we are at risk for getting dengue, sometimes even more than the other persons, because of what is happening around us. However, not all mosquitoes are actually infected with the dengue virus, and therefore it is not all mosquito that will bite you that will transmit dengue. However, if persons within your environment has the disease and the mosquito bite that person, that same infected mosquito can come and bite you yourself. Or if somebody in your home has it, that same mosquito can bite you and bite that person, and that is how it is transmitted. And so it is important that we be our brothers and sisters keeper and do what we can to reduce the threat of this dengue outbreak. So my friends, I hope you would have learned something from this video. I hope you would have enjoyed this video, and I hope you will take the necessary steps to reduce the amount of mosquito around your property, because it is also your responsibility. Some persons believe it is the Ministry of Health who should really get rid of the mosquitoes. But no, it is not the Ministry of Health who should get rid of the mosquito. It is you. However, we have a program where we assist you in getting rid of it, but you need to do your part. So sometimes when you go into the homes, persons knowingly have mosquitoes breeding, and to them, it is your job to come and take care of it. But please be mindful that you can be prosecuted because it is illegal. All right, so I may take care of my mosquitoes right here, but if my neighbors don't take care of theirs, then the same mosquito can come and affect me just the same. And so it is important that we be our neighbor's keeper. We be each other's keeper. So help us, help yourself to prevent and to minimize the impact of this present dengue fever outbreak in Jamaica, and let us do this together.
Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do so, because you will see how we grow orchids and a lot more in Jamaica. As we continue to say, just follow back a minute. This is the Orchid Doc, and I am sharing with you just how we grow orchids right here in Jamaica. Thank you so much for watching.
I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, and I'm up again. I got tired eyes, need a cup of blend. That's right, in the AM, that's my only friend. No light, just the sun coming up on the horizon. I lose track of time, yeah, I move fast and climb a new class divine, yeah, true passion shine.